This fight has the boxing world going crazy. 58-year-old Mike Tyson will be fighting Jake Paul July 20th in Texas. And for right now, Netflix is showing this fight for free. I'm a hardcore boxing fan, so I'm not really interested in fights like this, but if I have nothing to do, I will watch it. And you know what? I won't be the only one watching it. The viewership on this fight is going to be enormous. Now, some people believe that is Mayweather's fault because he's the one that started off with Conor McGregor. He is part of the reason, but I think boxing did this to itself. I feel like if we got the fights we want and the best were fighting the best, we wouldn't have as many fights like this going on. I'm not saying all of them would disappear, but we wouldn't have as many. I mean, there are a lot of fights in boxing that should be made that are not made. We're finally getting a Fury and Usyk fight. We should have had an undisputed heavyweight championship fight years ago with Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua. But they wanted to fight to marinate. And what happens when it marinates? They lose. I mean, it took boxing 5 years or 6 to make the Terence Crawford-Errol Spence fight. That fight July 29th of last year should have been a trilogy. And when you look at Tank Davis, it's so many big fights we could have had him in. Lomachenko, there's Shakur Stevenson out here. There's Devin Haney, Teofimo. The list goes on. There's so many big fights you could put Tank in. But they rather argue on Twitter and release sparring tapes. These fanboys would actually rather watch sparring tapes than the real thing. And when you look at Canelo Alvarez, Hall of Famer, all-time great, we want to see him in there with David Benavidez. We'll accept Jaime Munguia. No one wants to see Canelo Alvarez fighting Jamal Charlo, or Errol Spence if he would have beat Terence Crawford. And this is why you got to respect some of these fighters in the lower weight classes. Naoya Inoue continues to fight the best. And Inoue can pick and choose. He's from Japan. He's really big in Japan. But he chooses to fight the best. If the champions were doing what Inoue does, boxing wouldn't be where it is now. Props to Bam Rodriguez as well. But unfortunately, a Jake Paul fighting a 58-year-old Mike Tyson will do better than Dimitri Bivol in a Better Be a fight, which is for undisputed at light heavyweight. Unfortunately, that is some boxing fans today. They'd rather see Twitter wars, exhibition fights, and sparring matches instead of real, actual fights. Embarrassing. And don't let me get started on the sanctioning bodies.
He didn't even want to fight Golovkin. HBO pressed him. Made Golovkin get in the ring after one of his fights and call him out, so he had to respond and do that. And that's why even when people talk about Floyd, I never say Floyd ducked this one and ducked that one. Floyd had 10 years of giving y'all them kind of fights. But he earned the right to pick and choose at a certain point.
Canelo hasn't?
You got to fight good, and then you got to pick. Then you got to fight a guy that's not. It's too much ducking. Damn, bro, I can go down the list. Like but it keeps happening though. Like this guy could rise up and then he'll duck that dude. Oh, he just wants a payday. Like, yeah, they want a payday. That's the position you in. What you think this is? So I just feel like, man, when it's a guy that's a threat, like even Dimitri Bivol, the dude he lost to, you got to give him credit for going up in weight, but I feel like he miscalculated though. If you the all-time great, don't you want to get that back?
He says he wants the rematch, but you know what's so interesting?
That's the key though. He says he wants the rematch.
Yeah.
Every time Andre Ward talks about Canelo, he doesn't hold back, does he? First thing he says is that Triple G fight should have never happened because Canelo didn't want that to happen. He says HBO forced that fight. And then he says Mayweather has put in the work, so he had the right to choose after 10 years. He says Canelo has not put up the work. He says Canelo actually ducks most good fighters. Those are Andre Ward's words. Now, Canelo fanboys, don't get mad at me. This is what Andre Ward is saying. He says Canelo's a good fighter, but he ducks most difficult opponents. And that is not all. He says to give him credit for going up there to fight Dimitri Bivol, but he feels like that was a cherry pick going wrong. and he feels like he miscalculated how good Dimitri Bivol is. And according to Andre Ward, he believes that Canelo does not want a rematch with Dimitri Bivol. So it's safe to say Andre Ward and Mike Tyson are on board when it comes to Canelo. They feel that he's ducking Benavidez. And Andre Ward always had criticism for Canelo. I think what Andre Ward is saying this time around is that if you're an all-time great, why wouldn't you want fights like this? Benavidez, a Bivol rematch. In my eyes, I think Canelo has done enough. He's an all-time great. He's did something that Floyd hasn't done. He's become undisputed champion. And he doesn't have to fight Benavidez, or he does not have to fight Bivol again. And it won't taint his legacy, but I really want to see the Benavidez fight, just as a boxing fan. But anyway, what do you think? Do you agree with Andre Ward, or is Andre Ward just jealous? Leave your thoughts and comments below. Jay Beasy, I'm gone.